Hello everyone, Switch Double here. I know that I want to have this with the holiday break, but I have just seen Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, and I have to admit, even though I already knew what was going to happen since I had seen some clips on YouTube, but still, the movie itself was, well, I have to admit, it was quite epic. Even for the past few months before, where we was informed some of the characters going to be returning, like Lando Calrissian, he returned, and Luke, well, and Han Solo for a brief moment, but otherwise from that, it was one of the most epic movie of all Star Wars time. I think even though Rise of, even though that is new, the latest movies are part of the canon system, which to me isn't considered as canon. Because to me, Legends materials were, well, comics or other knows before, that is a true canon. And this Disney canon isn't what is to me. But anyways, this might contain some spoilers, but I won't get much into details in the movie itself because I don't know how many of my subscribers or viewers have seen the movie yet, so I will try as best I can to avoid as much spoilers. But you have been warned. If you haven't seen the movie yet, this video might contain some spoilers in this review. Well, and I have, first of all, we didn't exactly not know first before this movie came out and the title how much time had passed between The Last Jedi and Episode 9. Apparently, a year had passed. And I will say, Poe, he was really much too surprised to be as still much as one of the best pilots. Even Rey, learning that she was force sensitive back in The Force Awakens, and that she was trained as a Jedi, and even asked Luke to maybe be trained as a Jedi. She continued to do that, even in this movie. But seeing how much has changed over only a year since the last movie, a lot of things have changed. The galaxy was pretty much in disorder, chaos everywhere. Even after the New Republic was fallen, had been, well, kind of bit dissolved, only since in the end of The Force Awakens. In this movie, we see more about the characters, how they try to stop this for the First Order in order to stop them from taking over. But learn a little more about that it was a spy amongst the First Order ranks. When I first read a spy, who can this be? Cannot be some of the most top rank officers. But it turns out it was actually a very much top officer. But I don't want to say the name because if people haven't seen the movie yet, I only say they were a spy. But unfortunately, he was taken care of. Yeah, you heard me right. Even though that this movie itself, there were in the trailers where we can see, for example, the Death Star, and people might ask which Death Star would that be, the first one or the second one? Well, I can do confirm it was the second one, the second Death Star. But you may ask, where on Endor did it crash? I have to say though, it wasn't even Endor. I thought when I first saw the trailer that we seen Death Star in the ocean, I thought maybe that must have been on Endor during because the moon is the station was in orbit around Endor. And since there were much only less ocean on Endor, but then it turns out since it was an Endor, then we had to ask which of the moons were it? Since Endor system has, well, the planet Endor, yeah, you have it right. There is even a planet named Endor, yeah. And since that was also one of few places, turns out there was an ocean moon named among Endor, where it was crashed. Even seeing how much his characters have been, how much have they changed in the world, in the galaxies, control, how about the First Order trying to take over even more, how Kylo Ren is trying to acting as as the supreme leader, but learning something else, that he's looking for something. And I cannot say exactly what it is because, like I said, I'm trying to avoid as much spoilers as possible. But it turns out that he was looking for something after he learned about something else. And I do admit, when I first saw the thriller, and even we saw in those trailers, hearing Palpatine's voice, people when they ask, is that Palpatine? And how is he back if he died 30 years earlier? To be exact, 31 years, but to be more exact. But people may have speculated that could have been some sort of recorded message from Palpatine that has been programmed to be broadcast in the galaxy sometimes after his death, claiming that he is returned. Or it could have been some people may speculate that could have been either a clone of him or some sort of hologram message. But I can just say it wasn't either of them. Turns out that Palpatine had survived somehow. Exactly how he did survive the end of Death Star, I cannot even say because I basically don't even know myself. But it turns out that, but even he did survive is some mysterious or maybe safe magic or something. Anyways, but at the time, he would be he was about 119 years old. You heard me right. 119. That is, whoa. I mean, yeah, but even when we see some of the old characters, Lando returned. Well, we saw that in the trailers, but I was really happy to see Lando because even though he was at first portrayed as a bad guy in the back in episode 5 in the Empire Strikes Back, yeah, but it later turns out to go the good side, and I mean that was really surprising because even though in the Legends source he is about to be married. He is married and have a son, Lando Calrissian Jr. But his son was born around, I think, maybe it could have been around something around 41 ABY, which is almost like more than 10 years before after in this movie. But that is legend stories. But what had Lando been doing all these years? Well, I have no idea. Maybe he was after that the Endor was over, and that after the Empire had fallen, and that then the Republic was taking control again, maybe he felt maybe it was time to retire from being a fighter and settle down somewhere on a planet or something. I don't know. Or maybe he's traveled around in the galaxy for doing what? I have no idea. Maybe he did provide some help for the rebellion or the Republic for any needs, but who knows? But there is one thing though. We are also learning more about Rey. Not only that she had been training for a whole year to be a Jedi, learning that she is a very much she had showing back in Force Awakens. She showed us a very strong connection to the Force. Though you don't have to be a Jedi or a Sith to be Force sensitive. For example, back in the last Jedi, we see the boy who is a slave in the stable who also were Force sensitive. So anyone could be born as Force sensitive. But back in the old Jedi Order, they could be taken as a Jedi apprentice or at least youngling. But in this case, since we have no much of speculation about who Rey's parents were, because they had all been mentioned back in The Force Awakens and in The Last Jedi. But it turns out we could even we even saw for a brief moment her real parents in this episode 9. But they are not revealed by name. But I do say, there is one thing though. Palpatine wanted Rey for only one purpose, but I will not confirm or deny for any of those purposes. But they only wanted her ever since she was just a little kid. For some, you may ask why. Well, let's say since Palpatine the Sith Lord, maybe he wanted as a new apprentice. Maybe he didn't want to have Kylo Ren as apprentice because since his grandfather Vader betrayed him. But maybe he thought maybe he can use Rey as a new apprentice. But it isn't that. And I wanted to say why or what else. But I do can say Palpatine had something else. Because in all the trailers we see this massive fleet. That fleet is even the largest in the galaxy's history. That I can say certainly. Even in those battles in the sim movie itself was epic. Back in the Last Jedi, when the Resistance sent out a message to across the galaxy for help, but no one came. But I cannot say this time, the First Order were much as really were not taking any answer for the mistake. They would try anything. They tried anything to make sure they would win this war. Even we can see how much in this movie itself. Yeah. And even when Carrie Fisher, who played Leia, died last year, or died, that even confirmed that she will not be returning back in future movies, or if there's going to be any future movies or something, or any other future television series or something, that they will not use her as a digital uh, features. I have to say though, even this duel, which you can see in the trailers of with between Kylo and Rey, learning more about the characters behind, more about them, and learning how much Kylo was very eager, determined to make sure that his power wasn't threatened by anyone as the supreme leader of the First Order, and that how much Rey was determined to be a Jedi Knight so that she could bring balance, and that also that she can bring back peace. Even though that Rey did survive through an entire movie, even she died for a brief moment until Kylo returned her back to life, but yeah. Learning that she knows more about her background. And I don't go into much details in that either, because believe me, this movie reveals a lot more about the characters, about the history between each character, and even learning more about how much the resistance have been fighting over the years. But believe me, when I first saw this movie, I was really blown away. Seeing Luke Lando, Leia, Han for back to return. Even though they were only brief moments for each time, but still, it was really much happiness to see one of those some of the badass characters back again. This movie were beyond anything I expected. Because even back in Force Awakens, when it came out, when I first saw it on the in the movie screen, that movie were like a sort of remake of almost like a remake of Episode 4, the A New Hope. I mean, where they brought this Starkiller base and that almost like like a twin or some sort of I don't know to say a successor to the Death Star 1 and 2. They was almost like to bring back the Death Star, but in 30 years later. Believe me, that is just really, really weird. But even back in episode 8 and 9, well, since the 9 excuse came out, but give me a break. I just say, episode 9 were even more epic than episode 8. But if I had to say which one of my top favorite episodes are the Star Wars saga, I must have to say episode 5 is one of my top favorite. And you may ask why? Well, it was more epic. I mean, learning more about Luke's parent, that he was actually his father, and that Leia were his sister, and yeah. Oh wait, that was back in episode 6. Sorry, but yeah, but episode 5 and 6 were, I had to say, those are my top favorite of all. But you may ask if I have seen Mandalorian, for example, the new Star Wars series that's so called this new character, which people call Baby Yoda. No, I haven't because I don't have Netflix or Disney Plus, so I haven't been unable to see that. But I do have seen Star Wars Resistance cartoon series season 2 so far and season 1. I mean that series was pretty much pretty entertainment. But I don't want to go much into this more than the stories about that. But otherwise, season 9 and episode 9 were really bit more epic parts with the battles and how much the resistance really tried to stop this first order in order to save the galaxy from terror. For the what to say, this new fleet of the first order, which was hidden somewhere in unknown regions, they had, like I said, the largest fleet. Not only that, this fleet could have in 10,000 fold there with the First Order fleet and the Sith fleet. I just say, those Sith ships were not seen in the trailers. They aren't back in the those ships aren't those same ships that were used back in episode 4 and 5 and 2 through 6. They are not the same class starships destroyers they had. This is an entirely new Star Destroyer, an entire new class. I dare say admit that much. But do they had a very much stronger power weapon? This weapon, in the in the legends, the words of weapons on the ships that was capable of destroying an entire planet. And this one, I don't know what to say, but somehow they have been brought some some of the legend materials into this. And I do say, they destroyed a whole planet with just one star cruiser. You heard me right. A whole planet with just one single star cruiser. Or was it a star destroyer? Anyway, which was just really, really differently. But anyways, I won't go much more into this review about that since I have been going on for 20 minutes or so far. But yeah, but if I had this rating for see episode 9, the Rise of Skywalker, I would have to say maybe I don't know since I normally do the stars, but ever since this one was good, but I would have to say 3 stars is the max I can give this one. And would I recommend anyone to go see this movie? But yeah, sure. I mean, if you're a dedicated Star Wars fan, sure, go see it. But I cannot say if you will hate it, like it, or you say, nah, it's decent, okay, because that is up to you to decide. This is my only rating of what I think of this movie. If they were going to make some other movies in Star Wars, bring it on. Bring us a new series of chapters. Who knows? But yeah. But anyways, that is all I have to say. And before I say end this, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's. And as always, subscribe, leave a comment, and as always, this is Switch W over and out.